Hello and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saleh Mumtaz Yusuf. Welcome to another session of Talk It Out with ICE Pakistan. Today we have a very special guest with us, Professor Sarah Williams, Pro Vice Chancellor, Buckinghamshire University and External Collaborations. Welcome, Sarah, again to this hot seat and sharing your insights with my audience. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Slayer. It's really great to be back. Thank you for having me back. And it's always lovely to sit and talk to you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you around. So, Sarah, the topic for today's discussion is more about cross-border learning, especially when it comes to education in Pakistan and in the UK. So maybe if you could shed some light on the differences or the gaps that we see in both markets, be it Pakistan or in the UK, and how that education can bridge that gap when it comes to cross-border learning.
This is something I think I've been on a bit of a learning journey with myself over the course of the last year. So this is now my third visit to Pakistan in less than a year.
That's great.
I think it's fair to say that I'm kind of enamored with the country and its people. It's really fantastic. But I've learned a lot about the similarities and also the differences between education in the UK and in Pakistan, particularly as we are preparing to launch our new partnership with ICE here in Karachi and also in Islamabad. I think for me, one of the key things that I've noticed is, and certainly the difference between our organisation within the UK and education in Pakistan is around practical application and skills-based learning. So within the UK, I think you could probably say there are 5 or 6 different types of higher education market. So you've got the very kind of high academic and theoretical education.
Learning,
if you think about the Russell Group or Oxbridge, very, very high level. And then you have the much more practical and applied and skills-based learning, which is where my own university sits. So we work with students, generally speaking, from widening participation backgrounds. So perhaps no one in their family has been to university before. They don't really have understanding or experiences themselves of higher education. And so when they come to us, they're expecting not just to get the education side, but actually also to have skills that prepare them for life or prepare them for a career. So we are very applied and skills focused, and you can see that in the kind of courses that we offer. So we tend to offer things around creative industries, creative arts, film, TV production, journalism, but also law, business, engineering, computer science, performing arts.
And also psychology,
and also psychology and education and nursing, allied health professions. So everything that we offer has a defined career path, something at the end of it that we're training people for. And we're very often working with professional bodies in those areas to help to develop and embed the skills that are required into the courses that we offer. When I first came here at the tail end of last year, what I noticed, particularly in the large public universities that I was visiting, was that actually the education is very classroom based. It's very theoretical. It's very much focused on that higher level learning.
And I think that also becomes really monotonous, when it comes to the classroom environment. I mean, that's what I've also experienced being a lecturer for the last 7 years. And I feel that something has to change now. And it is kind of changing now. And that's when, the T&E comes in.
Yeah.
Right. With the international programs coming into place, I think it's really helping and prepping students. Let's say if they want to go abroad, it makes it a lot easier for them to have more skill-based training and learning that has a lot of practical relevance as well when it comes to the industries that you're opting for.
Yeah.
Or maybe looking forward to.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's kind of 2 things there to unpack a little bit. So the T&E side of things, I think what's good about starting a qualification, perhaps a UK-based qualification here in Pakistan, is that if you want to go and finish your final year, or perhaps you want to go on to further study, postgraduate study in the United Kingdom, doing a British qualification in Pakistan actually helps you to understand better the way that you'll learn, so that when you go to the UK, it's not so much of a shock. You're not walking into an education system and thinking, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting this.
Or whatever I got myself into.
Exactly. So I think it's really beneficial from that point of view. But I also think there's there's another side to it, which is that TNE helps Pakistan because it enables students to stay in Pakistan but still get an international qualification. And that helps the country with the brain drain, because you're not seeing, the best and brightest young people leaving the country, perhaps never to return. So you keep more of that talent within the country, which obviously will help the next generation. But it also helps then to reorient education around skills and around training, so that you develop a workforce or develop a young population that really can help Pakistan to grow and help Pakistan to develop its own economy and its own organization and country.
Definitely. And I feel that is something that has recently taken over. And I've seen a huge difference, especially with what we were taught as millennials. And now when you see the Gen Zs, they're more inclined towards learning those skill sets.
Yes.
Like, I feel like now I've seen that with the normal conventional programs, you have the same curriculum repeating again and again. But with the international degree programs, I feel they're more A, industry relevant, B, there's a lot of practical insights and case studies that they're working towards. Like, I remember when I was a student, we were asked to do a lot of case study readings. So that would help me understand those real life business cases and how I can solve them.
Yeah.
So, and then when I put myself practically into that situation, it just becomes less complicated for me.
Yeah, and more comfortable. You don't feel out of your depth quite so much. One of the things that we do a lot of in our courses is that actually students are going to work with a real business during their undergraduate studies.
Yeah, definitely. That was exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So that would really help you. So I would, and now we also encourage a lot of guest speaker sessions as well. So we like to connect the students with industry relevant people.
Yes.
Who can come and exchange ideas and knowledge.
That's
and
right.
also prep them for the market as well. So a lot of networking opportunities for the students.
Huge networking opportunities, but also the opportunity to work through real business problems. People bringing in issues that they've got in their businesses right then. And the students have an opportunity to work through those issues and maybe even pitch solutions to a real client having a real problem. And that is on-the-job learning. It's real practical learning that gives students a taste of what it's like to be in quite a dynamic environment where maybe things change all the time and scenarios are constantly shifting and evolving, and they have to prepare responses in real time to those scenarios. And I think that's a different mindset. It's a different way of learning. And I think you're right. There is a difference. I mean, you're talking about being a millennial. I'm a Gen X. And so I think there's definitely a difference in the way that we
Things
were
taught
trained.
previously. Yeah.
Exactly. And Gen Z are they're really hungry for knowledge, but they also want to get stuck in. They want to be earning money right away. They want to be out there solving problems and getting stuck into jobs and tasks right away in a way that we were perhaps happier to sit back in the classroom.
Yeah, they're looking more towards like faster outcomes and results.
Exactly.
Whereas us millennials were more focused on the process.
Yes.
So we were working more on the process rather than, working towards the outcome.
And the challenge, I think, for us as educators is how do we maintain what was good about the process? There was something in that slowing down, and it's that thinking fast and slow, isn't it? That key
and slowly
text.
making your way up.
Yeah. So how do we maintain that what was good about learning slowly and being able to really embed those thinking processes with some of the speed of things nowadays? We want to kind of harness both. You want to harness what was great about learning process with what's great about being agile and responsive and quick. How do we do that in a way that takes the students along with us? And I think there's something that we learn from each other across the generations in that, but also something that we learn from each other across the boundaries, the country boundaries, the global boundaries.
And I feel like that is something that could be a great source of value addition as well.
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned, you've been to Pakistan thrice, I believe.
This is my third visit.
Yeah,
in less than a year.
visit. Yeah. So, Sarah, my next question is going to be about how exactly was that experience for you? How rewarding was it to learn from this culture and taking it back home And again, I would answer that when you are done answering my first question. Then I can add how those kinds of programs have been very helpful for our students here at ICE
Yeah.
and generally in Pakistan. So,
Okay, so I mean, there's been so much to learn. It has been a really, a really enlightening set of visits, but a really exhilarating set of visits as well. There's so much life, and particularly here in Karachi, so much life and passion and energy about Pakistan, and you really feel the energy when you're here, like you're on the cusp of something, like the country feels like it's on the cusp of something great. And you really feel that when you talk to the young people, there's this sense of excitement. It's, that something big is about to happen. So that's really exciting. You get that excitement when you're here. I think one of the things that I've really taken away, and this is partly from Pakistan, but I think actually it's ICE in particular, was the young people's focus on earning whilst they learn. So the earn while they learn concept, which is something that I think we do in the UK, but maybe not so tailored towards the education. So students work whilst they're studying in the UK, but what's different here is that students are setting up their own businesses. They are setting up their own marketing businesses, digital businesses.
They're also like a lot of freelancers here.
Exactly.
But in the UK, I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more about meeting those needs of making sure they're able to pay their tuition fee. So they're mostly working towards odd jobs rather than like
that's right,
professional ones where they're learning actual skills that can help them get into that job market. So
exactly. And I think, in the UK, they tend to work in bars and restaurants, in shops. So they're working in things that don't necessarily contribute to their degree. Whereas what I've noticed here in Pakistan is that your students are working actually in fledgling careers that they actually want to go into. So they're starting their own businesses. They're developing digital marketing skills. They're actually developing the skills and earning from those skills that they need to get their jobs after they finish their degree. And actually, the skills that they're learning on their degree, they're immediately applying in the freelance careers that they're taking on. And I think that for me was one of the really enlightening things from my first visit here around the Skills Rater program and things that you have and the opportunities actually that gives students to not just to earn while they learn, but actually to develop the skills they need to go straight into their careers without that kind of awkward getting to know you phase that you have a little bit at the beginning of a career. And that, I think, is a piece of learning that we can take back to the United Kingdom as well.
Speaking of digital marketing, like now in Pakistan, I've seen that there's a huge rise when it comes to content creation as well.
Yes.
And that's when I feel like personal branding is one thing that also helps a lot when it comes to bridging that gap, when it comes to you making networks before you start. So I feel like the students now in Pakistan and all around the world, they're trying to create that visibility to ensure that, those gaps are identified, and be fulfilled by two things. It's through your skill sets and also the experience while you are working before you actually start your career journey.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Gen Z are almost natural content creators. They're seeing the world in terms of content and their view of the world and how they want to interact with it and also how they want to show up in that world is viewed through the lens of content creation. They're natural digital marketers. But if you think about it, they've grown up with social media and content just being around them the whole time. They were born into a social media world. I certainly wasn't. This has come about.
I mean, I've experienced both sides. The world before all of these new inventions and discoveries, and now that I'm here, so it kinds of, the universe takes its time. When it comes to us adapting to those changes, and with the world being so dynamic, you have to act fast.
You do.
Otherwise, you're somebody who's going to be left behind, and the others is just going to crush you.
You're left behind so very quickly. And it's interesting that you said they're adapting to a changing world. We have to. So Gen X and millennials, we have to adapt to a changing world. I don't think Gen Z are adapting. They're creating it. They're the ones driving the change.
Exactly. I feel, so they're the ones who are the driving forces of change.
Yeah.
And we're the ones who are following.
Exactly.
So we're kind of getting
them.
into that bandwagon of creating something different, which then becomes trendy as well. Like you see on LinkedIn, there's a lot of storytelling when it comes to the content. You see a lot of reels. The people now, they're kind of losing interest and focus when it comes to reading content in terms of chunky text and paragraphs. They're more about visuals.
They're much more about visuals.
That are more eye-catchy.
Yeah.
They're more interesting.
Yes.
And people tend to learn. You know, us humans, we are more of like visual learners. So whatever we see visually, which is appealing, catches our eye.
Yeah, I think that's right. And we are, I think, just in general, as human beings, we're interested in stories, right?
Yeah.
We're natural storytellers. We love to hear stories. We were talking earlier, weren't we, about, lengthy text-based LinkedIn posts, which I am very guilty of. And how actually the younger generation, they don't have time to craft a text-based LinkedIn post, but they're just going to do a quick reel to camera, which they're just going to post and they're on to the next thing. Whereas, it might take me an hour to really hone a
and
post.
Maybe find the content.
Exactly.
So what I've seen is with professionals my age, they actually wait for the moment to create a content.
Yes.
Whereas Gen Zs, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, they create that moment.
Yes. Yeah. They're not waiting for the moment. They are the moment.
They're not waiting for the moment to happen. They create it. So every moment is a content itself.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've seen that. And I feel it's very, very important for us to realize that whoever makes it first wins the race.
Yeah. They're thinking in moments, aren't they? That's how their brains are wired. They're thinking in those moments. I think what's been great for me coming to Pakistan is really seeing that and feeling that energy from people, and especially the young people that I see. I mean, those are, in the main, the young people that I've met here, but they are thinking in moments, even when they're interacting with us, when they're coming up to talk to me, when they're coming up to talk to my colleague who's here with me. You can tell that they're thinking in moments. They're taking little bits of video while they're talking to me. They've got their friends shooting something. They've got somebody else taking photo, and they're thinking, and you can see them thinking, okay, this bit is going to be a reel that I'm going to post later, and then I'm going to put this bit, and then I get tagged in all kinds of stuff once I leave that interaction. And for me, it was just about the moment, but for them, they were thinking, right, how am I packaging this? What does this mean for me? What story am I telling to? And often it's friends and family, right? They don't have huge audiences, but sometimes they do. Sometimes they have crazy big audiences for their content, and that's a way of thinking about things that I can't almost fathom. Now, I'm enthralled when I watch these young people because their brains are working in such a unique and different way to the way that I was trained and brought up. And that is fascinating.
Yeah. And I just would like to add that they're more about being themselves.
Yes.
Rather than being pretentious.
Absolutely.
Like, when they enter the room, you know exactly what you're looking forward to. So they're more confident. They know exactly what they want.
Yes.
And they're very stubborn and rigid with the expectations. So my next question, Sarah, is, so when we talk about students eventually starting their careers with whatever line that they want to choose, so what exactly are we looking for when it comes to their employability skills or, other kinds of things that can make them stand out? So especially like if we have students leaving from Pakistan and going to the UK to pursue their top-up years, or maybe like doing an exchange programs, and then eventually entering the job market in the UK.
Yeah.
What exactly they need to be ready for?
Do you know, I think you almost answered the question yourself there, really. Confidence is a really big part of this. Having the confidence to believe in your story, to put yourself out there. But I think it's what we might term the soft skills, actually, that are those that are most important. Having confidence, but also knowing when to ask questions. If you don't understand, you don't know something, just ask. It's a bit of resilience. It's really daunting to move halfway across the world to an unfamiliar environment to go to school. So, having a bit of resilience and a bit of toughness. And it's interesting you say, they can be quite rigid, quite firm. They'll need that. That's actually a really positive skill. But at the same time, it's showing initiative. Not just sitting there and waiting to be told what to do, but actually thinking, what do I need to do? And how do I go and seek this opportunity? How do I do that for that person?
Finding that purpose, like why exactly are you here?
Yes.
And what can you bring to the table? And those are the questions that employers are really looking for.
They are.
Which I wasn't prepped for when I was entering the job market.
No.
And sadly, I was completely clueless. Now you have sessions and workshops where students are basically taught how to smash interviews.
Yeah. What value do you bring? Why you and not somebody else?
And why should we hire you and not the XYZ candidate?
Exactly. And it comes back to the point that we made earlier. It's about your story. It's about stories, because everybody studied the same modules. Everybody knows the same facts. Everybody's got the same theory. What makes them different is them.
Their mindset, their attitude.
Exactly that. They are the secret ingredient. It's how they bring themselves into that interview space. Their enthusiasm, the passion that they present, or their ideas, and how they tell their story, and how they show that story has value. So if you are, a young person from Karachi who is going to go to High Wycombe to do your top-up year or to do your postgraduate year, and then you want to stay and work in the United Kingdom, you need to be able to tell the story of why your journey through Pakistan, halfway across the world to the United Kingdom, how that is different, how that sets you apart, what you've learned through that process, the kind of person that it's made you, and what that resilience, what that independence brings to an employer. I have the ability to think interculturally. I have the ability to look for global opportunities. I have the ability to look at how things are similar and different across Pakistan and the United Kingdom. I've got the opportunity, I've got the ability to see opportunities in those differences. I've got the opportunity to really think differently about approaching problems and solutions in the workplace. So I think it's how you teach students to present themselves.
And just to present themselves the way they are.
Exactly.
And then how they can somehow, tweak things around ever so slightly. So when you enter, a different country with different set of values and culture, that's a culture shock itself,
It
right?
is a culture shock, yeah.
At least for me it was. But then, if you're somebody who knows how to create that space for yourself, it becomes a lot easier. And eventually that journey becomes really rewarding.
Yeah.
Like there are a set of challenges, but then again, things like you mentioned about the confidence, communication, how do you promote yourself?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Saleha. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And this is what I bring to the table. And this is why you should hire me. And this is what really makes me stand out. So maybe your value set. So, and things that would leave a lasting impact on the audience or the people around you. And how you are when it comes to maybe, dealing with people as well. Would people like to work with you? Would they like to interact with you?
Yeah.
Do they remember you? Even
Do
if
they
you've left
remember
them.
you?
So that is very important. So sometimes you meet people in a crowd and you get to interact with people who might be an acquaintance, but then you still remember them for a longer period of time, maybe a lifetime.
Yes.
Is because of the image that they have set. Maybe there's something in their personality that is so striking that you can't seem to forget.
Yes. And I think you said it earlier, the key to that is authenticity. It's being yourself.
Yeah.
Not trying to put on any airs and graces or pretend to be something that you're not. I mean, there are a couple of students here that have stood out for me in the times I've coming back, just walking back into campus today here in Karachi and seeing Sharia. Yeah. And you think, I feel like I know him so well, but I've met him 3 times and he's still a student here, but he's just got a presence. And he has a confidence about him that makes him
who he is,
and makes him who he is. And some of the girls as well. I mean, they are so sweet. and they're so humble. And actually, that's fine. I remember that about them. And that's what makes them memorable. Moving to a different country is really difficult, right? It's that process of acculturation that they have to go through, and you know, things will seem simultaneously more boring probably, and also more scary at the same time, because it's all new. So I think, you know, one of the key things to remember if you're moving abroad to study is to, you know, be kind to yourself. Don't
take it slow.
Take it slow. Don't feel like you have to know everything straight away.
I feel like it's more like a rat race now.
It
has become one.
Yeah, it's become one.
So, you know, you need to make sure that you're doing well academically, but then you somehow lose yourself in that process.
Yeah.
And you lose that essence of why exactly you're here.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I've come to that point in life where I realize that there's no full stop to learning.
No,
So,
it's not a process with an end point.
yeah.
You know, just because your degree ends doesn't mean to say your learning has ended. You know, it's continuous. It's what we do throughout our entire lives.
I think you learn the most when you're working.
You too.
When you're working with different people, with different mindsets, with different cultures, there's like a fusion that is being created.
That's right.
So you learn like a thing or two from others around you.
You do.
And you always add value like that. So if you are somebody who believes that you have a purpose, and if you feel like you're successful, it's not just you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to you describing success, it's all the others who are involved in the process.
Yeah, exactly.
So it could be your mentors, your friends, your family, your co-workers,
the
and even the challenges. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The environment that you set,
Yes.
that you're placed in.
Absolutely.
And that, for me, exactly, like if I could just, I mean, it's going to be a huge, long podcast, but like for me as well, like I was a student and studying in the UK. So my learning experience was a lot different and challenging. But that shaped me into the individual that I am today, sitting in front of you. And I could have never imagined that.
No, you don't know what you're letting yourself in for at the point, you know, you're almost stepping into the unknown a little bit. I studied in France and in Spain. Very different education systems to the United Kingdom in the 90s. My experiences were vastly different to anything that I knew. And it was, you know, kind of scary. But it was also exciting, and you sometimes have to put yourself through it. It's not necessarily
I think like with every failure or setback,
yeah,
there's another thing that you've uncovered, you know, and that's a different learning curve for you overall. So yes, again, for the students who are listening to this podcast, like I believe it's very important to have that self-belief added with perseverance and resilience. And making sure that you're confident enough to get those things done. And eventually you'll get there.
You will get there. And I think the other thing that's really important to remember is that you may not realize the value of your learning, the value of your degree at the point at which you do it. Sometimes the value reveals itself to you. Often it reveals itself to you in the 5-10 years after you've graduated, because you suddenly realize, oh yeah, I know what that means now. I've experienced that now. I understand that. So concepts, ideas that might have seemed really abstract and pointless to you at the time you were learning them suddenly make sense 5 years down the line when you find yourself in a new situation. So you're right to say the learning doesn't stop. It's not an end point. It's a beginning. You know, higher education is a beginning, and it's something that you will carry with you for the rest of your life.
And that's, I feel, is the most important part and experience of your life. Like I kind of miss my university days, and I feel like if I could go back, there are things that I want to change, but then at the same time, I don't want to change them.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And that's kind of confusing, like to say, but it was a journey. Which included a lot of self-fulfillment. But at the same time, yes, I would like to change a thing or two.
But if you'd done it all right first time, you wouldn't have learned the things that you learned.
Yeah, true. Exactly. So yeah. And then like, again, the thing that you mentioned about international students having that fear of like missing out. You know, it's very difficult to get a job when the job market itself is so competitive.
Yeah, it is.
And it's been, you know, mostly occupied. So I feel like a lot of Pakistanis, I believe, who go from the UK, they feel like their chances are little to no.
I think one of the things to do is to reframe the way that you look at it and to say, okay, well, what do I have that other applicants don't have? You are going to have multiple languages for a start. You know, English is your second language, possibly your third or even your fourth language. Those languages are your strength. The ability to learn new languages is a strength. Use that to your advantage, because what that tells an employer is that actually, you know, you could be quite useful. Don't forget, there's a huge Pakistani diaspora living in the United Kingdom. That language ability could actually be really useful to a future employer. They may need somebody who could perhaps help them to translate things into Urdu, into Punjabi. So, you know, use that as to your advantage. That's a real strength. You're also resilient and strong. You've moved halfway across the world when you were a teenager. You know, again, that's taught you life lessons that somebody who's lived in the United Kingdom all their lives are not going to have learned. So use those life lessons as a strength. So look at your experience not as a weakness, as a barrier, but actually think, what do I have then that other applicants are not going to have? And there are so many
maybe
strengths.
Fill those areas.
Yes.
With the skill sets
With
different life
things.
skills too, I believe.
Yeah.
It's very important. Again, anybody can get the work done if you train them.
Exactly.
Right? But
So
getting
you
it
can train
right
yourself.
the first or the second time
Yeah.
is what is required.
Yeah.
And I feel like Pakistanis are very ambitious when it comes to, you know, their careers. They already have
Certainly
a
all the ones
mindset.
I've met are.
Yeah. Like, and there's somebody who's coming with a purpose. Like,
Yes.
I'm coming to the UK with a purpose.
Yeah.
I've enrolled myself for a program.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that I'm able to get something good out of it.
Absolutely. And I really, that's one of the things that I really get being here is that determination.
Yeah.
That sense of determination from
And
everybody
then
I've met.
stay like committed to your goals.
Yes.
And then planning things around that is again very important.
Yeah.
I feel it's like the most integral part of you planning your career journeys.
Yeah.
And then maybe also listing down your strengths and areas that I would not say weaknesses, but areas of development is much better. So, and then how would that add value?
Exactly. I mean, alongside all of that, I would also say, you know, make time for fun.
Yeah.
Make time for
extracurricular
BNU.
activities and traveling.
Because
I think traveling again
exactly. Yeah, travel
is
is so
another
rich.
journey of like discovering yourself.
Yes.
I feel you get to meet new people.
Yeah.
You come across different cultures and
Yes.
you know, different ways of looking at things. Maybe.
Absolutely. You challenge some preconceptions that you might have held. It's really eye-opening. The whole experience is really eye-opening. But I do think, you know, kindness to yourself in particular goes a long way, because there's so much determination. I see people putting an awful lot of pressure on themselves, and people perform best when they're not under pressure, actually.
Exactly. And I feel like the students coming from all around the world, whether it's UK, the US, Canada, wherever, I feel like that independent life that they're living is also something which, you know, definitely rewards them at the end, because you're doing things on your own at a faster pace, of course, and you're out of your comfort zone and you're trying to get out of that bubble.
Yeah.
And then you have so many distractions around you.
Oh my gosh.
And then making sure that you're able to get through all of that with different life challenges or setbacks. I think that itself is too much for a student. So again, the thing that I'm going to mention that we discussed earlier is like, make sure that you're giving yourself enough breaks. You're rewarding yourself for even smaller areas where
little
you feel
wins.
that,
celebrate all the little ones.
exactly. You need to celebrate those little wins.
You do.
And map out your journey and then figure it out.
And make time, make time for friends and family, make time for those experiences, because they are all part of your story too. And as we said earlier, your story is what sets you apart, and your joyful moments, your family moments, your moments with friends, they are just as much a part of your story as your career plan, as your skills focus.
Definitely.
It's all part of the holistic picture.
Yes, Sarah. So one last question before we end this session is your time in Pakistan.
Yeah.
If you could just explain that. How was it? Like, I know your next journey is you're going to be going to Islamabad again.
I am, yeah. Off to Islamabad on Wednesday, but I'm here for another 3 days before I go up. I think if I could describe Pakistan in one word, I would say it's exhilarating. It really is an assault on the senses. You know, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the people. It's all just. Karachi in particular is like crazy chaos, color and music and fun, and it's
and the food
exhilarating. Oh, and the food, of course, yeah. Of course, the food. You can't not mention the food. It's really delicious, and I'm really enjoying that. So yeah, I think it's been an exhilarating journey through Pakistan, and one that I hope to continue for a long time in the future.
Hopefully. Yeah. And the one piece of advice that you would like to give to our listeners and the audience today when it comes to mapping their career journeys, especially those in the higher education and the ones who are planning to go abroad, maybe start their career journeys?
Yeah. I think the biggest piece of advice I can say is to enjoy it, to remember this is your story, this is your journey. Nobody else can have the same story or the same journey. And take good care of yourself. Look after yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And be willing and able to learn all the time. Have your eyes open for new opportunities and new experiences, because you're going to learn from all of them.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being a part of this episode. It was definitely so nice speaking to you again for the second time.
For the second time. I feel like we could have talked for hours.
And we could look forward to more of these. Thank you so much for watching this. Stay tuned.